Can you tell us a little bit about where political opposition in Russia is right now, and what is the level of support and opposition for the war?
Well, first of all, Russia was a pretty repressive place before the war. It's become a much more repressive place as a result of the war. In fact, a new law was just passed by the Russian Duma that is going to criminalize even looking at any kind of oppositional material on the internet. So it's become extremely repressive and extremely difficult to operate in terms of opposition. People are sent to prison for expressing any kind of opposition to the war. So we really don't know what people are thinking. We know what they're doing. They are expressing their support for the war in general, most people. But we really don't know what the thoughts of people are. Now, economically, I should say, Russia, as I mentioned in my comments, it hasn't suffered enormous economic consequences. At least the population hasn't suffered enormous economic consequences as a result of the war. Inflation has gone up, and some things have disappeared from the stores. But Russia has very skillfully managed this situation, largely by integrating itself into informal economies and illegal economies. So, for instance, it's exporting large amounts of oil, about the same amount of oil that it used to export, through its shadow fleet. It has a shadow fleet of tankers that it uses to get those out. So, as a result of that, Russia has had a lot of money still flowing into it, even though very serious sanctions were imposed on Russia after the full-scale invasion in 2022. So it's managed it in a way, but that could change. And people could feel the pinch a little bit more, and we don't really know how that will reflect itself in public opinion. But the public opinion doesn't have a chance to reflect itself into politics in a big way right now.
We have a wonderful student that we share, Jacob Tucker, who's doing a dissertation about propaganda narratives in Russia. And one of his arguments is that the government has just been very effective in creating a very strong narrative about what this war is really about. It's about a war against Western intrusion on Russian sovereignty. Zelensky is painted as dictatorial in his own way and corrupt, and the Russian government is sort of noble in its defense of its territory and of Russian people outside of its borders. So this is a very powerful nationalist frame, and I'm wondering, what does it take to puncture a frame like that? What would it take for this narrative about the war to shift? Would it be catastrophic military failure? Would it be a depression? It's striking to me how strong the support is and how effective the propaganda machine is.
Yeah, and it's fairly stable, as Jacob finds out in his research, that it hasn't changed that much over the course of the war, and which makes you think that, well, propaganda serves a number of purposes. Yes, it's there to convince, but it also provides a narrative that people can use as in terms of their discourse. And we really don't know what people are thinking. And many people, of course, are not thinking that much about the war if they can avoid it. But some people are thinking about the war, but they have a narrative also that people and those who are not thinking about the war, they have a narrative that they can rely upon, in their discourse. And they also know what the consequences of speaking out are. So what would it take in order to shift things? Most likely it would take catastrophic defeat, which is not a likely thing that's going to happen right now. But would an economic depression or a recession have an effect on narratives about the war? Probably not. As long as Putin is healthy, as long as he's exercising power, I don't really see much of a chance of things shifting.